Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Joe Theodore, and it's an honor to be here with you today. Today is a special video because this insight literally just came to me about a half hour ago. Then I had some lunch, and then I came back to set up my little setup here. And as you can tell by the title of the video, I just want to look ahead a little bit at Neptune's ingress into Aries that will be happening April 2025. Now, this has been a long awaited moment for Neptune. And when it comes to Neptune, we've been dealing with Neptune in Pisces since 2012. So wow. How long has that been, guys? 12 years. Now, with the retrogrades, of course, when Neptune will go back into Pisces next year, then in 2026, it will be officially in Aries. That is when we will start a new journey of another decade or so in a fire sign. The last time Neptune was in a fire sign, I don't have the exact dates with me, but you can imagine how long ago was Sagittarius, right? So if we're going about 10 to 12 years and we go back Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, Sagittarius, we're talking 40 plus years, almost 50 years maybe, since the last time Neptune was in a fire sign. Now that's actually something I should have done a little bit more research on, but again, this is going to be the first of many videos as the channel unfolds into the future regarding Neptune going into Pisces, because we're in an age right now that is so profound astrologically speaking. On the world stage, things are happening that have never happened before. You know, and every generation kind of says like, oh my God, this generation is crazier than the last generation. But no, we're dealing with not only new threats of nuclear war, we're dealing with new threats of actual World War III. And again, guys, if this is any triggering information for you, then you have to really just recognize once again that astrology is not a fluffy, game here. Astrology is a tool of all life as we know it and how we participate in that. And there's going to be life-changing shifts globally and, within ourselves, but we're going to change with the world whether we like it or not additionally. Neptune going into Aries. Pluto's already been in Aquarius, retrograding back to Capricorn for a little bit before 2025 actually hits. We will have a full-on Pluto in Aquarius for 20 years, pretty much, give or take. We're going into the age of air in a Platonic sense. We're going into the age of societal innovations, AI, transforming what it even means to be a human. And that's also what I want to mention about Aries and Neptune. But then we have Uranus also shifting into Gemini, which, if you do your research astrologically, every time Gemini has ingressed, or Uranus has ingressed into Gemini, America, at least, has gone through a major war. The last time Uranus was in Gemini, World War II was just on the brink of beginning, as far as America's involvement. Prior to that, the last time Uranus was in Gemini was the Civil War. And then prior to that, the last time Uranus was in Gemini was the Revolutionary War. Now, I'm almost positive if you continue to track every time Uranus has gone into Gemini, around the world, there's probably a theme in that regard. But as far as I know, wherever Gemini is in the American birth chart, right, America's birth chart, there is a theme of war. So a lot of astrologers who know what they're talking about, are sort of mentioning that occasionally. Of course, I'm not going to blather, on and on and on the channel here about global stuff. But when it comes down to discussing these themes, I'm going to discuss it. And the reason why I'm making this video today about Neptune and Aries is because a friend of mine or a colleague, made a video on artificial intelligence and, why astrology is going to be so important during the age of AI. And his thoughts were a little bit all over the place, to be honest, in different forms of it. He seems to be very okay with technological innovation involving artificial intelligence, where I'm definitely a little bit more of a pessimist for sure. Because I think the truth is we don't know exactly what will happen and how fast and then of course, where is the world global, conflicts going? Because again, I do feel global conflict will become a major theme in the next decade. So how is AI going to play into this, in a military sense, potentially? Or how is this going to keep elevating our lives and keep distracting us? Because not all technology is bad. If it wasn't for technology, I wouldn't be here with you. I wouldn't be able to, learn so much through podcasts and just, using the internet for resources to read like ancient texts and, most of my metaphysical learning has been done thanks to the internet, right? But when it comes to AI, we're not just talking about the internet. We're talking about, algorithms. We're talking about tracking. We're talking about, at some point, what companies and what global enterprises, for example, will be using this technology for capitalistic gain, in the worst case scenario, Now, this video isn't about going into the details of my opinions or just the things I've studied, involving even like the political sphere, because I keep up on everything, guys. I have to, as an astrologer, as, someone who needs to be informed about the world. This is, I can't be afraid to know what's happening in the world, even though I'm very spiritually in tune with like the fact that this world is, it's just one little pit stop in time. But when it comes to these big, massive transits, this stuff is important. And when it comes to AI, when it comes to technology, Neptune, when it entered Pisces, which is the home turf of Neptune, if you will, in the modern sense, but Pisces is also ruled by Jupiter, which is all about expansion and wisdom and innovation as well. Jupiter can innovate our minds and, and really open us up to possibilities that never existed before. I think that's why Jupiter classically rules Pisces, for that innovation, creative, possibilities are endless, right? So with Neptune being creative and, and then kind of during the age of Pluto and Capricorn, which is all about building, right? And Pluto was a builder of innovation, of transformation, transforming the world, right? And technology was really starting to boom, during the midway point through, or actually most of Pluto and Capricorn. We had this very transformative, futuristic, stuff coming into the world, and Capricorn was building that. Pluto was with Capricorn, building technology, building innovation, building ideas, and making ideas that once were imaginary a reality. And then Neptune entered Pisces, a couple of years after Pluto was already doing its business in Capricorn. And to me, that's really when we started seeing digital social media show up. Right? Because social media was around from the early 2000s, while Pluto was still in Sagittarius. So at the tail end of Pluto and Sagittarius, we were dealing with, was it Sagittarius? Yeah. We were dealing with, like kind of like the internet age of expanding our horizons to the world, right? The internet and MySpace, remember, like when Internet Explorer, like, the original internets, right? In the late 90s, going into the 2000s, that was all Pluto and Sagittarius really, transforming the way we globally connect, right? And Sagittarius is about foreign places, foreign, inspiration, foreign, lands, this global and collective, pursuit. Capricorn is very interested in travel and, expanding one's knowledge and horizons, right? And this was a crown chakra opening for the boom and the birthing of what the real internet and the beginning of social media with MySpace and, in Facebook's early days. And then Facebook really became like a collective thing. It went from just being a college thing to 2008, 2009. Everybody started using Facebook, right? During Pluto and Capricorn. And then 2012, Neptune enters Pisces, and we start to really see, Twitter's been around for already like a year or two, I think. Instagram just started getting super popular. So that's why I say I've tracked and mapped Neptune in Pisces being a social media transit and what that has done to our minds, right? And Pisces can be confusing and delusion and illusion. So these illusions that we have found ourselves in, with Instagram filters and people living their best life and, not knowing what's real anymore. Now at the tail end of Pisces with Neptune, we're dealing with deep fakes and the dawn of AI, right? So the tail end of Pisces and Neptune and Pisces has been about AI, right? And it really started to ramp up the conversation when Pluto entered Aquarius, right? And that's when all of the AI conversations really started in the collective consciousness, only within the last year. But Neptune in Pisces has had a massive role to play in the boom of actual social media itself, right? And Neptune in Pisces makes us, the illusion of what social media is, right? It's reality, but it's not really reality. This conversation all of us are having, like, is there a separation between reality and social media, or is what's going on here? Everybody is being misinformed these days. There's so much fake news out there. There's so much propaganda and deep fakes, and AI is taking over. I hope you get what I'm understanding without me rambling on more and more. Now, before I continue, just talking briefly, because I'm going to talk a little bit more on Neptune and Aries, please, guys, consider checking out my description box. I have pre-recorded classes for sale on my teaching portal. There's a lot for you guys to look at. A Masterclass I just launched is out as well right now. And if you would like to book a reading with me, I would love to help you on your journey, of course. Everything is down below. And if you're new and you're enjoying this video, please consider subscribing. Guys, all right, so briefly, to get to the heart of Neptune and Aries, the insight that I had this 30 so plus minutes ago before my lunch. Aries is about identity and the self, and we're going to have a moment for the next 12 years, right? Where the Neptunian influence of creativity, illusion, and delusion, and what is reality is going to be really blueprinting into, one, the Aries part of your birth chart. Number one, wherever that is, this energy is going to be front and center there. So we can get more creative in the Aries part of our life. But again, it's going to be very self-oriented. Our ambitions and our inclinations for freedom and identity, are going to be very, we could have bursts of individual creative, pursuits in that part of your life. You might get really inspired in many ways in that part of your life. Or, which I think, because of the state of the collective psyche right now, I think Neptune has been providing more confusion than it has been, necessarily creativity. Because I think right now creativity in Neptune's collective influence has a lot to do with social media and AI. And that story is going to play out more in our lives collectively. So it's going to be very overwhelming, I think, with Neptune in Aries, because this could be the moment, and this is the insight I had, the moment artificial intelligence begins to evolve into what some may think is an individual. AI will begin to merge with humans the self, right? The identity of what a human is, AI and technology will start to integrate into what it means to be a human. And the conversations of what it means to be a human will get more dominant. There's a term called transhumanism that is a term that pretty much just describes like humans merging with technology, in an era of where Neuralink exists, or, in the future, there may be ways we can implant things into our bodies for longevity, for more efficiency. The dawn of actual humanoid robots might start to really become a conversation in the next 12 years. Because again, the birthing of the zodiac begins with Aries. The Aries is about the self, right? Now, whatever's going on in the Aries part of your life, this Neptunian influence will be there for you. Things might get a little more confusing and foggy. You may feel like that part of your life kind of just gets a little bit more free and flowy, more creative, more inspirational. So there's so much that can happen in a positive way in your life, personally speaking. But in my life, I can tell you right now, my Neptune for the last couple of years has been squaring my moon. And it has made a lot of my emotions, like the way I feel things and the way my mind and my emotional system is connected. I've felt very up and down, emotionally, like just not knowing, if I'm doing the right thing or feeling the right thing. And just, certain relationships have just been sort of weird, So personally, I can't wait for Neptune to get out of Pisces, because it's literally been squaring my moon for a couple of years now. So for me, I could already say, hey, like Neptune can cause a lot of confusion, a lot of like just not sure about stuff. So it's just something to consider, guys. And I think with Neptune and Aries, and back to the beginning of the talk when I mentioned, a colleague of mine who made a video on why astrology will be so important in the age of AI, it's because we're going to need to be able to have some kind of point of reference of why this might all be happening. And astrology just kind of tells us, hey, there is some orchestration in some cosmic order happening within this chaos. And this life isn't all for nothing. It's not, we're not living in a nihilistic void, so to speak, where there's no meaning potentially behind all of this. But I would say astrology gives us meaning and shows us that things are happening for some reason, because it's all in the astrology, in the map, right? But for me, this insight of Neptune going into Aries is having a lot to do with the self. I just felt like, I wanted to piggyback maybe on some of his thoughts, because AI, I believe, will begin to wake up, maybe not in an actual human sense, but the integration of how AI is completely and utterly beginning to integrate with our identities, and how robot droid things might become more and more real, and how maybe in warfare, this can be a new dawn of war. And I think we have to be real with ourselves that war is imminent, I would say, on a global stage. Obviously, I don't know the details. I always say astrology can tell us the forms, but not the details. I don't know if this can be Cold War stuff. Because listen, guys, some people can argue right now that America's in a Cold War. We're kind of like in a cold civil war between Democrats and Republicans, right? Most people are civil still, but get them talking about who they might vote for this year. They might, pull a knife on you. So, we have like evolved a little bit intellectually in a civil way, but at the same time, we haven't. And, we all remember what happened at the beginning of COVID. People were attacking other people over toilet paper, right? We're only one little step away from total anarchy, and that's something we all have to realize as humans as well. And the more we understand these truths about ourselves, the more we can wake up and be more conscious of these behaviors, of course. But Neptune and Aries, guys, again, it's the next step in technology. It's the next stage of evolution of how technology integrates with the self, with the human, right? And how AI will be even more self-like, even more human, right? Because Aries, being the first zodiac sign of the zodiacal, wheel, the birthing of a human, right? The birthing of experience, the birthing of AI, more so than we've ever seen so far. And I think during the 12-year period, while Pluto's in Aquarius, which will be all about the innovation of tech and the changing of maybe even world systems of power, right? And then Uranus going into Gemini, which we can also see maybe how we deal with capitalism and money changing, because communication, Gemini is very, and just coming out of Taurus, when we've sort of had a little mini revolution in what money is, and inflation and debts rising. Uranus is crazy, has been crazy when it comes to markets and economy stuff. And then Bitcoin, digital currency, is a huge conversation. So once we get into Gemini, this stuff is going to just evolve and evolve and evolve. That conversation will keep going, with that. So the world is changing in a way that I would say, and I would argue, hasn't been since maybe the Industrial Revolution, And if you know your history a little bit, we went from literally horse and buggies to not having machineries and not knowing how to do anything with machines to all of a sudden, in the the medieval era, sort of like, in that kind of era, as we boomed into the industrial age, things rapidly changed. The world just shifted. And we're at a moment right now where, like, the world may seem like it's not changing, but at the same time, it is changing like no one's ever seen before. And that's also kind of the Neptunian influence, if you get what I mean, the fog of reality. Most of the world, and if you go to New York, for example, or if you go to any city, everything might look the same, dirty buildings and dirty cities, and you go to your local park, everything looks the same. But in reality, all of our lives are being controlled by AI, by technology, and things that are going beyond what human beings have ever once thought could be possible. And that's kind of the Neptunian reality shift, right? And then social media is front and center with all that, obviously. All right, my friends. Well, that's all I have for you today. I do hope you enjoyed this talk. Please like, comment, and subscribe, of course. And let me know your thoughts in the comments. And that's all I have for today. I'll see you in the next video.